morning, everybody. My name's Ned Cake. I'm with Shrug, and I'm here to moderate a session for Paul Buchanan. His presentation is called RiverView, a historic project for a historic river. Paul is here in person, but his presentation is recorded. And what we'd like to do is he's going to attempt to play it. We've had some technical difficulties with playing videos. He's going to attempt to play it, and if I could get folks to type into the questions whether or not they can hear the audio on his session, that would be great. Paul, you want to go ahead and start it now?
Okay, well, hey, I was trying to back this up, and I was going to close the window and just reopen it. Let me see if I can do that. It keeps reopening the same window, but I can't get it back to the
360 mobile cameras. The most cost-effective camera that met our imagery and accuracy needs was the iStar Pulsar Plus from NC Tech Imaging of Scotland. This company is
so unmute yourself so we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm trying to play the one that's shared.
Right.
And I can't get it back to the start. When I try to close the window, let's see here.
Chris Smith says he's seeing and hearing everything fine on the video, and this may be just a problem for me as a moderator not being able to hear it.
Okay, well, I have one more question. So I want to restart from the very beginning, and I can't drag it back. And I thought, well, I'll just open up a new window, close this window.
Okay.
But
sure.
when I close it, it doesn't close out. It still opens back up where it left off.
And you don't have any controls over dragging it or starting it over?
No, it just stops and starts.
Stop showing video. Try stop showing video and
Okay.
see if that gives you a start over option.
Okay, let me see. Whoops. Oh, let me see if I can find that stuff.
Everybody's saying they were able to.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'll start it again here. All right.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and let it play.
Will it play? All right.
Hello, this is Paul Buchanan of the Swanee River Water Management District. I'm excited to share with you a first in Florida, a complete river of 360 imagery coverage. For several years, the district had a goal to document the condition of the riverbanks of the Swanee River. After speaking with staff about their needs, it was clear that a Google Street View type imagery was what they needed. As a result, I named this project RiverView, with the historic Swanee River as the focus river. So let's get started. This project topic came up again last summer. I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to do it, but I knew it could be done because I knew that camera technology has been advancing quickly in the last few years, particularly in a mobile environment. I mean, just look what your phone's camera can do now.
So some folks aren't seeing it. I had to enlarge it. I had to enlarge the screen to make it
be the first in
go on
Florida
my
to
whole
complete
screen,
a river, and hopefully
there
do it
isn't
again
a way
in
for
5
us
years.
to increase the audio on it.
After extensive searching and researching, I came across several 360 mobile cameras. The most cost-effective camera that met our imagery and accuracy needs was the iStar Pulsar Plus from NC Tech Imaging of Scotland. This company has worked with Google in the development of this camera to capture street-level imagery on a large scale cost-effectively and designed to work in a mobile collection environment. Features that I like include the 60 megabyte pixel image, 8-foot GPS accuracy, easy operation with an app through a mobile device, lots of storage, 1 terabyte, pictures in a compressed format during collection but output to multiple formats such as JPEG and TIFF, a vehicle roof mount system and backpack for the camera, and although it comes with an AC adapter, the one battery provides plenty of power for continuous collection all day. We actually ordered this camera from the distributor Spatial Technologies in Canada. They provided super support and helped us manage shipping and customs. For those not familiar with the 360 picture, allow me to show you some examples from this camera. For reference, this is the boat ramp and park at Brantford, Florida. Open with a standard picture viewer, this picture looks like a standard two-dimensional flat picture similar to the panoramic image. But if you look closer, note the size of the picture. They're actually at the back of the boat. Also note that our logo is at the bottom of the picture, and it is actually a circle icon. You'll see how this comes together in the 360 viewer. This is the same picture in a free 360 viewer. As you see now, I can pan around. We're in
Hey,
the
Paul,
center
they're
of the river,
asking you to mute
approximately
your
200
microphone.
feet
Apparently,
from
everybody
the
can
bank.
hear it without the microphone.
And you also have the ability to zoom. And like I mentioned, below is our logo, and it's came together perfectly. Target detail is partially determined by the distance away from the target. So here's a closer picture for test comparison. We're now approximately
Makes
150
a lot of
feet
people are
away
saying
from
it's
the
hard to
bank.
hear.
Do what?
And you can see the detail.
Do
Oh,
what?
Scott was asking me a question. Sorry, I need to mute my mic.
And for another test, this is a temporal comparison. This is the same location. The other pictures were taken in mid-February. These pictures were taken in late March. As you can see, the green vegetation starting to sprout as spring has sprung. And here's another exciting feature. This once again appears to be a flat image in a regular viewer. We're sitting under the Brantford Bridge ready for takeoff. What you're looking at is a video that's created during the processing of pictures. It's actually made up of each individual picture. This is a low resolution thumbnail stitch video that's possible on all pictures or all processes. And once again, just like the 360 viewer, you can pan as the video is playing. You can also stop the video. In addition, you can move forward by dragging to different places on the river and continue. This is just a fantastic feature. I mean, just imagine taking virtual trips of the river with 360 capability. For all the pictures that we've collected and processed, I have videos of everything. Okay. Now let's jump into Arcview. Here are the sample picture points in Arcmap. What you're looking at, this is Brantford, Florida again. It's a 10-mile stretch of river to the confluence of the Santa Fe and Swanee River. And here's some numbers for you. Like I said, this is 10 miles of river, approximately over 4,000 pictures, and 55 gigabytes of pictures in JPEG format. Now we're going to zoom into the boat ramp. This camera has different optional rates for capture based on time or distance in both preset and custom mode settings. The configuration that we chose was the driving configuration, which is taking a picture every 12 feet. So once again, we're looking at the same picture we did before at the Brantford boat ramp, but now in our GIS software. just for a couple more examples. Just another location on the river. Clicking on a point. Before we did tests on the river, we actually did some tests with the backpack. This is Bell Springs, a trail on the district property, also part of the Florida Trail. This is a location just north of the town of White Springs, and what you're looking at is a 2-mile stretch of trail starting at the parking lot to Big Shoals. And we are walking along the Swanee River, overlooking the Swanee River. There's the orange mark for the Florida Trail. Just another fantastic way to tour a trail. And those doing LiDAR ground truth like I have to do, I'm going to ask what the canopy and leaf on conditions look like. Well, now I can look up and just show you. I call this trail view. The next one I call land view. When our foresters asked us if we would take a look at some property they were preparing to thin, so we did this test on a vehicle. This is Twin Rivers track, just a few miles north of where the Swanee River and I-10 cross. So here we are in the truck, looking at the forest. Our forester wanted to be able to do a pre and post comparison. Once again, I call this one land view. And one more tool before we leave. This is an Arcgis Map. This was important for our tracking. Another tool that we used on the river, I used this with my phone while I operated the camera with my iPad. This helped us navigate hazard areas along the river. Whoops. It provided constant locational awareness, position tracking, and safety and supply information via boat ramps that we had information for, and river access points if we needed to stop. Before we tested the camera on the river, I did a collection of tests on nearby trails and then on the vehicle as just shown. These tests helped me understand the collection and download process as well as the image processing phase. This in turn helped me prepare for the operational flow and planning and daily missions. Our first test of the camera and boat setup for the river was on February. It was a very successful test and provided great imagery and a lot of insight for project planning. Shortly afterwards, minor flooding occurred on all the rivers, causing us to wait for the river levels to drop below the no-wait parameters. We turned this delay event into our advantage, as you'll see in the upcoming slide. This is the best slide of all. As you can see, we had great success. Not only did we complete one river, but we covered 4 more rivers. In 7 days on the water, we collected 310 miles of imagery. This project was a tremendous success. Our longest trip was 80 miles, which we did twice. The only reason we stopped the first time was because it was the first day and we had already went further than we thought was possible. The second time was because we had already reached the Gulf. I said the longest trip was 80 miles. Well, that was well before this mission in May. In order to get higher resolution of the bank, as the river becomes wider, we made a closer side pass instead of the center line. And one day before the Memorial Day weekend, we conducted an out and back mission down one side and back the other from the north end of Dixie County to the Gulf and back, 120 miles. I think we could actually have done at least 160 miles. As a result of this project's success, we have new goals and more possible applications because of our new capabilities and reach provided by this camera. In addition, we are gearing up different boats for different waterways, plus adding additional equipment to collect other data at the same time. Weather permitting, we're going to be ready to go anywhere at any time. There were several reasons for our success. First, we were flexible and pivoted our mission to include additional rivers that had to be done within a couple of days as river levels were dropping rapidly. Secondly, I had a great team. My captain, Jamie Gaylord, hydraulic data collection specialist, was a veteran on the river and knew how to handle a boat, especially through the river hazards. My other teammate was Edwin McCook, senior land management specialist and recreational use coordinator. He was key to the mission planning, logistics, and safety. For example, we made one-way trips only. Edwin launched us, met us at checkpoints, and picked us up at the end of the day. And last, the camera worked flawlessly, easy to use, plenty of battery life, and operated as fast as we could go. Many thanks again to my teammates. A job well done. Jamie Gaylord and Edwin McCook. I cut out a lot to make this 10-minute presentation. There's so much more about this I'd like to show you. If you have any questions, please contact me. I'll be happy to talk to you.
Oh, hey.
Here we are.
Okay.
Just to give you more reference. I sent a picture.
So I want to apologize to the folks that had technical difficulties.
And all points in between.
We were aware somewhat before Shrug started that the videos would play fine, but that audio was a different experience depending on the each user's setup or each person watching setup. We're going to try to discourage videos in the future, but I want to assure you that Paul's entire video will be on our YouTube page, so you can watch his presentation in its entirety. And now, if there are questions, I have one question so far. They want to know, how did you negotiate the big shoals?
Well, one thing that we did was actually we had lots of shoals on the river, and so what we tried to do, we went to the historical imagery, and on that, what I was going to mention about that, I said Arc Map. Basically, I made an Arcgis online map out of that, and I went back and denoted all the rock hazards, and then we would have those on our iPad as we're traveling, so we would be aware of those. But the point was that we had the river, it was a high stage, so we were able to avoid a lot of these shoals because of the high flood water. So what we did right there at the big shoals, we went all the way up to it from the north end, and then we put in at White Springs and came up from the south all the way up to it. But besides that, we were able to avoid all of the shoals because we were catching the river coming down.
There you go. Did you go all the way across the Okefenokee still into the swamp, or still into the swamp?
No, we went up to Fargo. We went all the way up to Fargo, and then we came down from there. Our goal was to go to the state line, but we decided to go further because we do have stations up there, so we went all the way to Fargo. And once again, we were able to do that because of the floodwaters that we were having last spring, and so I'd like to in the future be able to do that at a lower level, but we would have to do something on a kayak or something, because it's going to be a lot more shallow. But by catching it at these high water levels, we're able to make a lot of distance. Like I said, that first day we did 80 miles, and that last day where we decided to go from the top of Dixie County to the Gulf and back, you know, we did 120 miles down one side and back the other.
It's a long boat ride.
Yeah. And something to mention about that. So this camera is made for vehicles, and I think I was told that they could go 80 miles an hour. So we had no problems on the river as far as speed. I asked some of the FWC guys and some of our field staff, and you know, average cruising speed, you know, is like 25 miles an hour. Now that's where I'll say from the lower part of the Swanee, because with the deeper water and less hazards, you can do that. But all in the upper Swanee, Alapaha, and Withlacoochee, because of the river hazards, we went slower. And that was something I just wanted to mention. You know, our goal was to do Swanee, but we were able to capture the rivers coming down, so we were able to get the Withlacoochee and Alapaha, and that was kind of unplanned. So what we would do every evening, I would download and upload the imagery and get ready, because with the river was dropping so rapidly on the upper end that we had to change our plan on the Swanee and catch these other rivers that were going. Now, some of you, if you don't know, the Alapaha sometimes doesn't even flow. So this was great that it was flowing. And I would say that each river had its own hazards. And when we started from Fargo, the problem was trees in the river. And because the water was at a high stage, making sure that we were going down the main channel and not going off into a slough as we're coming around the curve. Now the upper Swanee, there are known hazard points with shoals, and Withlacoochee has lots of rocks. That was probably the toughest river. Santa Fe has a mixture of rocks and shoals and grass, particularly in the upper end. Now when you get down the further on the Swanee, your hazards are going to be more sandbars, and with floodwaters are bringing down a lot of material like logs that we had to watch out for.
Let's see, how are you storing the wealth of images collected locally on someone's PC, on the cloud? Where accessible, somewhere accessible by others in your organization?
For in-house use, we have some of the data online just on a server, but we're upgrading our disk space so we can put it all. So basically, it's going to be almost 2 terabytes to put everything that we've captured online for internal use. The other, it's going through the NC Tech, that the imagery is actually Google Street View ready if we wanted to send it up to Google. The also for a couple of our users, I've even put it on kind of external drives for them to use locally and remotely. But the converting it, I'm just going to add this, that after I process the data, it comes in as with a point, well, actually a picture georeference, and there's a couple of easy commands in ArcMap to convert those to features. And so, you know, it's already embedded into a point feature layer. And then with just the free FPS 360 viewer, able to view those images like that. Now, Esri does have a model they're coming out with, so that it would be more seamless to look at 360 imagery.
Very nice. How much did the camera cost, and how do you justify the purchase? That's from Chris Smith.
Okay. Well, actually the first need, the reason we did that was because of a couple things that our resource management staff was wanting to monitor the banks of the river, and because they were saying we needed some different imagery. And at first I thought we were talking about traditional imagery, because you know our traditional orthos are getting higher and higher resolution, but still because of the tree cover, you can't see the bank. And sometimes what they're looking for on the bank is things that have been enhanced or altered, and you need more of a side view. So I asked them, do you need better top-down imagery, or are you looking at oblique imagery or something? And I said, well, how about something like a street view? And I said, that's exactly what they need. So we looked at this as not only for for permitting and monitoring, but also for the just the documentation, because of all the property that we own along the river. And as I was setting this up, as you might have seen in the demo, that our forester guys are really excited about this, because when they do their timber management, a lot of times they're doing thinning, and they like to do the pre and post imagery. So before, they would just take a camera and try to do a picture and then try to remember where they took the picture and angle that they took it from to see the before and after. Now we can just put this on the truck and drive that route. The other thing too about having this camera is that we can not only do this on the waterways, we can do it on the our vehicles. And at one demo, I was trying to show when we're walking to Big Shoals that we had this on a backpack that it comes with. So we're looking at this also for virtual trips, or trying to present some of the district properties and all the trails that we have on this. So we definitely have a lot of needs that it can satisfy. The camera itself was approximately $5,000, but there's software that you have to buy. And then what I tried to do was to try to buy double the components, so that if something went wrong, I wasn't having to wait for shipping. So approximately $15,000 for everything.
Excellent. Will this be annual for tracking change?
I think so. And what it's going to be based on is some of the needs. I could foresee us doing maybe annual on certain parts of the river where we see more potential change. But another thing we want to do, we want to also try to document many of the other rivers that we have. So for example, some coastal rivers, or even one of our board members is interested in the Slave Canal over in Jefferson County. So, but the good thing is, once again, we have this camera, so we can do this as needed. So, the initial goal, they were just hoping that they could do it every 5 years. So I think that we'll probably do it annually, or maybe every 2 years. And another thing that we have to consider is based on the river levels. I think from Branford down, the Santa Fe, that every year we could do that. The upper river is just going to depend a little bit on the river levels.
Very good. Are there any other questions for Paul?
I was going to add one other thing that maybe didn't mention. That I operate this with my mobile device. So the camera, now the camera was made you can buy it with a backpack, or it has the mobile setup for the rooftop of a vehicle. So our field guys came up with a way to use some of the mobile components to put it on our boat. But I lost my train of thought. So we have it so we can use in multiple scenarios. Oh, back to the operation. So it operates with through an app that I could use on my iPad or on my phone. But what I was trying to do while we're on the boat, because they had Jamie, our captain, driving, so I was operating the camera with one device, and then with another device, I was checking the route that we're going and for any potential hazards. Like I said, one of the things we did on the online map, we put out all the water access points. So if we did have trouble, we could drop back to a boat ramp and then contact our guy Edwin to help us with that. Because in the rush to try to take advantage of the high water, we made all our trips one way, trying to get everything. But as you say, on the last day, we did just out and back. But like I say, it was easy to operate with the mobile device. Basically, once it's set up, it's a matter of just turning it on and stopping it. And I'm not sure if you caught that in the processing, but when it stores the data on the camera in a proprietary format that basically kind of reminds me of a giant zip file. So when I process it, I choose the file format that I want for the output, but also the ability to create that video that's made up of all the individual pictures. So on each segment, when you turn on and off, you have that option to output that video along with the pictures.
Excellent. So I don't see any more questions. I want to thank you for taking the time to present for Shrug. We really appreciate it. We can come to count on you every year. Thanks a lot. And thanks from the Shrug committee. And
well,
for our sponsors.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to present this project. Like I said, it was very exciting. Sometimes I felt like I was on a National Geographic exploration on many parts of the river, that we have so many pristine areas of the river. And, for a lot of people, the only time they've seen the river are when they've just crossed it on a bridge. So this is a way to see more of the unique landscape that we have across this region. And also to be able to do it first in the state was really a challenge that we were willing to accomplish for this part of the region.
I've been fighting the whole time, saying how jealous I am of the time you got to spend actually working in that environment.
It was fun, but hectic.
Like that. We work in a bunker here at TLCGIS, so getting outside a little bit would be a good thing. Anyway, thank you very much, Paul.
Thank
And
you.
thanks to everybody who attended. Wait, I had a few more questions. Hold on. Is this imagery on the Swanee River Water Management District website? Chris Duclos wants to know.
No, it's not at this point. Because of the size, we're just going to see how to handle this in the future, because it's so much imagery.
And you got a congratulations from Greg Malden. What a great project.
Thank you, Greg.
It said it's great to see it finished. They saw some of the beginning of it in the LiDAR workshop.
Oh, yes.
Great
Yes.
to see it finished up.
Thank you.
And he's complaining that you have such tough duty, but someone has to do it.
Well, you talked to my captain there, because there were a couple times going through those shoals. We hit. Has anybody ever hit a rock while you're in a boat? It's kind of a scary thought. We want to make sure we didn't lose our motor. So there were some areas he said is very stressful.
And some folks are saying they'd love to see it in Google Maps.
Let's see if we work toward that.
There you go. All right. Thanks very much, Paul.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? This is the last opportunity. All right. Thanks, everybody.